I'm Bill Ball, host of the Journeys in India and Journeys in Africa series broadcast here on public television. I'm a huge fan of the Olympics, so I decided to do a special on the upcoming Winter Games in Seoul, South Korea. Most of the pre-Olympic shows focus on the athletes and the events, so I thought we should take a different bent, an in-depth look at the people and the country that are hosting the games. In essence, to learn what makes Korea tick, or put another way, what does being Korean mean? So join me today as we learn about the heart and soul of Korea. Since I was young, I had an intense desire to discover the world around me. That hasn't changed, just the level of adventure. Now, every journey has a purpose, and each time I venture out to explore new destinations around the globe, I am following my travel quest. South Korea is located between two of Asia's other cultural powerhouses, Japan and China, each only a couple hours flight away. Even with this close geographic proximity, Korea has been able to maintain its own unique identity. I have taken it upon myself to find the true Korean spirit, to understand what it is to be Korean. I thought one way to get into Korean culture is to get into Korean culture. I'm going to wear a traditional outfit into the palace. They're looking for gigantic right now. The Korean traditional 19th century dress is called a hanbok.
Did you put down your cleaning deposit?
My particular one is that of a nobleman. I feel royal already. Oh.
You better put your slipper on there. There you go. Sorry about that.
Our guide Angela convinced me that wearing it all morning while I visit the palace grounds would be perfectly normal. Lots of people do it. They told me everybody in Korea dressed like this. It didn't take long for people of many nationalities, from Koreans to Chinese to Malaysians to Taiwanese, to ask to have their picture taken with me. I'll tell you, they watch my program everywhere in the world. Apparently, even at the police station. Every day, the palace opens to the fanfare of the changing of the guard. This is decidedly Korean, with ancient weapons, flags, and drums. A sense of the depth of their history is becoming apparent. That is one big drum. I can't help but see similarities between this royal residence and the Forbidden City in Beijing. The Korean version originally had over 500 buildings, which is quite impressive. Angela tells me this royal city is actually older than the Forbidden City. The complex is massive, covering nearly 100 acres. As I wandered by the finely carved and painted buildings, I can't help but think that it was the proximity of Japan and China that created a competitive nexus that made the arts flourish. It was now time to step it up a notch and dive headfirst into the cuisine of South Korea. I didn't know what I was getting into. In this case, eating the food is the easy part. It's getting it to your mouth that's the difficulty. I've never been good at chopsticks, and this quick lesson isn't doing really well for me. And all of the people behind me are very helpful, but I think I'm the entertainment. There are 4 traditional markets in Seoul. 3 of them are dedicated to food. Angela decided to start me out easy with mung bean pancakes. One with meat, pork,
and the other without. To reduce any inhibitions that my friends or I might harbor, she poured us a few rice wines. The Korean way is communal shared food among friends, and sometimes strangers join in, adding to the fun. It just seems that having a good time eating fresh food eclipses all else. There's nothing fresher than an octopus that's still moving on the plate. In exploring the side aisles, I found people eating crazy food. And there is nothing crazier than eating raw, still moving octopus.
Bill, they use chopsticks like you do, man.
These gals were a little more adventurous than I wanted to be. I had been dwelling so much on the past that it became evident that I needed to see the pride and joy of Seoul, where history meets modernity. After years of abuse and pollution, many in the city wanted to fill it in. But in 2005, the mayor had a different idea. It is now a community asset that turned the citizens' dream into reality. Talking about history, it was time for me to see it in one of its most authentic forms. And the best place for that is in the countryside, in a place called Andong. About 100 miles from Seoul, Andong is a world away in time. Though modern conveniences have reached the UNESCO-designated Hahue village, the architecture and traditions are strictly 16th century. The mostly wooden buildings have either thatched or stone tile roofs that today would normally exist only in tourist attractions and historic temples. The Hahue Traditional Village got its fame because of its unique architecture. But for me, there's something even bigger than that. The village was started by the Liu family, and still to this day, 70% of the people that live here are members of that family. But more remarkable than that, this particular house has had 23 generations living in it. We were invited to watch a local mask dance. The masks used in this dramatic dance are considered national treasures. The characters, whether male or female, are always played by men. For many observers, the dance's message and its musicality is its best and most attractive assets. For me, though, it was the bull's interaction with the audience and the shocking things the proper lady does. Near Hahue, there is one last stop I wanted to make. This 16th century Confucius Academy is near and dear to my heart. It honors teaching, where I began my career. Teaching is one of the highest callings in Korea tradition. But we got an unexpected bonus. As we arrived, we suddenly saw that they were filming a live Korean television show. The Academy is a perfect location for a historic drama, since it has remained largely unchanged since the 16th century. The students at the Confucius Academy looked at their teachers as spiritual leaders and dared not even step on their shadows.
Okay, that's a cut.
I was beginning to see a pattern and culture emerging from my first two area visits. Strong family, strong admiration for the past with an eye to the future, and a unique take on life, shaped by other surrounding societies, but branded with a truly Korean style. The first great Korean empire was the Shilla Kingdom, which ruled much of what is today North and South Korea. The Gyeongju area was Shilla's capital, so it also became the final resting place for its royalty and high officials. Over 100 of these large mound tombs are found in the region. Now, when they opened this tomb up, could they tell who was buried there?
Well, we don't know, because really we're still learning about the Flying Horse tomb. And when it was excavated, we found no bodies in it. So we're not sure if the tomb contained a king or a queen. That's what we don't know exactly.
So you don't know exactly who was buried, but they did find a golden crown inside, right?
Yes.
Not only at that time the king or queen, but probably relatives and people of higher social stature were buried in tombs like these.
Today, the wooden coffins have dissolved into a pile of debris, and there's no trace of the body or bodies except for the jewelry that adorn them. I have traveled and seen a lot over the years, but the craftsmanship and advanced civilization of the Shilla dynasty truly astounded me. Bach took me through a field of tombs to show me something very special. This astronomical observatory is the oldest surviving tower in Asia, maybe the world, dedicated to stargazing, which is actually what the tower's name means in Korean. The Shilla dynasty was deeply religious with ties to Confucianism and Buddhism. One of the architecturally most significant building complexes is the close-by UNESCO World Heritage Bulgasko Temple. The temple has several significant Buddha statues and prayer pavilions aimed at peace. Korea was subject to Chinese, Mongol, and Japanese invasions, so this huge temple complex was dedicated to stopping the conquest of the peninsula. Unfortunately, someone forgot to tell the Japanese, and many temple buildings were destroyed in the 16th century assault. Luckily for us, Korea has undertaken an extensive renovation and restoration of all of the temple complex buildings. Korea is a mashup of the past and present in areas like the palace, Andong, the Confucius Academy, and the great tombs of the emperors. But these are nothing compared to the future of Korea. Just 2 hours from Seoul is the site of the 2018 Winter Games. Though everything wasn't quite finished by the time of my visit, they were well on their way. A representative of the Olympic Committee, Lim Ye-sung, met me at the base of the most impressive venue, the ski jump. In the Olympics, there are 2 ski competitions based on where the competitor is to land. Either the 90 meters or 300 feet, or 120 meters or 390 feet from the hill. We rode up the same monorail the athletes will be using as they take their 2 jumps for gold.
Won the gold medal.
Americans have become very good at bobsled.
Oh, really?
Now, yeah, it used to be Germans and Russians only. Now the Americans are really caught on. The bird's eye view from the top is just that. The ski jump slope is daunting, to say the least. The 13,000 plus stadium below is one of the best I've seen at any Olympics for a ski jump competition. The venues here were designed to both maximize the athletic endeavor and the comfort of the spectator. One of the local attractions, now mostly for Koreans, is gearing up for tourists, the Institute of Korean Traditional Food. Here they demonstrate the proper storage of fermented foods, like the national dish, kimchi, but the big draw is the preparation and tasting of traditional Korean foods. They are preparing bibimbap, a word that literally means mixed rice. There are 7 different veggies in it, from eggplant to seaweed, plus meat and eggs, and of course rice, all laid out quite colorfully. Yet another opportunity for me to hone my chopstick skills. Oh, now it is hot. It wasn't at first. Oh, it comes, now it's really coming. Okay, it's hot, yes. Okay. Officially labeled hot. It seems in Korea, the more I look forward, the more history and customs play a deciding role. Another good example is a special people-to-people encounter between visitors and monks. Here we can ask a Buddhist monk about their life, something that has been unchanged for centuries in the context of the modern world. The Buddhist adherent explains that his lifetime choice is one that comes at both a high price and great rewards. The price is chastity, no liquor or meat, and certainly no money. If donations are scarce, the monks must beg for their food. Of the 50 or so monks here, over 30 of them devote themselves solely to meditation. To help understand the art of meditation, our Buddha devotee had us make lotus flowers out of colored paper and a simple paper cup. My final product was a bit short of the model. Well, words don't describe it adequately. Using our floral masterpieces as an offering to Buddha, we did a meditative walk and chant before entering the main temple to show our respect. After a heavy dose of history and a chance to meditate on the subject as to what being Korean is, I felt I was much closer than when I started. I had but one last direction to head to get some answers. North. No, not North Korea, but as close as I could get. The DMZ. Before coming here, I hate to admit, I didn't know much about the country other than the 1950s conflict known as the Korean War. Over 3 million died in the 3 years of fighting. There is little evidence of the war despite the destruction of nearly 80% of the property on both sides of the border. There is one area that is a constant reminder of the tensions that still exist between the two very different Koreas, the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, a 2-mile no-man's land on each side of the negotiated border. The DMZ has evolved into a tourist attraction, albeit a highly regulated one. The tours, run under the scrutiny of the military, has a number of interesting and informative stops. They begin at a base where monuments to reunification abound. The official South Korean policy has always called for reunification through peaceful means. One of the first stops on the tour actually shows why this is more of a dream than a reality. The longest of the sites visited, the third tunnel, allows visitors to ride deep underground and to walk in an invasion tunnel dug by the North, probably in the early 1970s. 3 tunnels have been located so far.
The roof actually is getting lower, not staying the same. A little over a football field away, 170 meters. The optimism of the South is contagious, though. Just 1 mile from the tunnel entrance, a train station has been built to move people between the two disparate Koreas. Of course, the station is abandoned except as a tourist photo stop. Despite that, the talk is never if, but always when the two Koreas will be one. Probably, though, the most interesting stop, at least for me, is the observatory near the border. Here, though, you can see into the most isolated country in the world. Well, here I am at the edge of the DMZ, and it's sort of a pilgrimage for me because my father fought in the Korean War. I don't think he would imagine, nor would I, that I would ever be able to stand in a place like this. With the complexity of Korea and what it means to be Korean swirling in my head, I knew that I had just scratched the surface. Korea's rich history and astounding leadership in the modern world makes this an incredible place to visit, and there seems no better place to end my time here than from a view from the highest point in the country, N Tower in the south of Seoul. Spread out before me was this modern city with its preserved ancient wonders. I can't say that I understand what it is to be Korean. There are 50 million people that tell that story. But I can say that I'm a better person for sampling the riches it has to offer.